Hi, welcome back to the channel, TrainStation 2. Alright, I got first in this mini event, Train Tycoon. It comes as a surprise, as I mentioned in the previous video. I wasn't really preparing myself to win this, but really lucky, I must say, along the way. A lot of building upgrades, train upgrades, items required from the factories, which I have tons of it, alright. So, as I said, I do not want to progress in terms of leveling up, but unfortunately, I'm being forced to in a way, yes, but I'm trying to restrain that. So yes, there's a request for spending keys. Definitely I'll rule that out, that's for sure. So collecting whistles, I used to rule them out because previously I would never collect whistles of 12 numbers because it's ridiculous. But nonetheless, for this purpose, since I'm not doing so much in terms of daily deliveries because we do not want to level up fast, right? So I decided to do even the whistles, but most of the time I get those stars from the building upgrades for population as well as the factory produce itself. And if it's for delivery of trains, I will choose though that is not able to complete, i.e. I'll make the deliveries to fulfill the requests, and but you will never complete that job, and henceforth not able to progress further in the level. So that's what I'm trying to do all along, because I know as soon as I reach 300 I will cross the next region, and if I do that in the midst of the event or prior to the event, that'll be not really fantastic idea, because competing with a new region with lacking of trains is definitely a bad idea. So nonetheless, along the way, I need to make quite a number of deliveries. Eventually, at the end of this video, you see me level up by 1. So I've crossed to its 6 for, eventually. But I thought it wasn't that bad as compared to what I would normally be. If I do a lot of deliveries and completion, I will easily cross about probably 3 levels or more. But being able to restrain that and yet able to get first, I'm really surprised, because this is not what I expected. But I'm really glad I did manage to get first and get those gold legendary parts for train upgrades, which is really good, because we all know that getting the golden legendary parts for train upgrades isn't that easy after all. So if you're preparing yourself for future Train Tycoon mini event, how you should do to get those stars is really prepare all the items in the factory, and then eventually that's something that you got to claim for produce. And if you've got lots of train upgrades to do, that's fantastic. And of course, last but not least, building upgrades for population is also one that give you a lot of stars. So you can see sometimes you're stuck because you have all the requests of deliveries, but I think you got to do some thinking and planning. How do you do the planning? Like for example, they'll ask for a specific type of trains, like for example rare trains, and then they ask for another job is to do with a diesel train. So if you have a rare diesel, you'll be doing both jobs at the same time. So that's something that you could do to achieve the fastest number of stars, your highest number of stars it can get. All right, so that's what exactly I did, trying to fulfill both criteria at the same time as much as possible. If that's possible, it will be done, and then we'll be able to get that 2 stars and whatnot. So, okay, you can see sometimes you're being forced to the corner because they give you all the trains jobs. Only if you get rid of them, then you're able sometimes to get this like factory produce, which is fantastic, because if you have lots of them prepared up beforehand, they'll come in really handy for this Train Tycoon. And again, once you're hit with the keys, I'll just rule that away. So by watching a video. And then good thing again, we got a factory produce again. So another thing you got to bear in mind is if you are after the stars in Train Tycoon, able to throw away stuff, or the ability to sacrifice items from the warehouse is something you must do, because by doing that, then you have sufficient space in the warehouse to put in all the new stuff that you guys collected. Otherwise you may be stuck. So do not be afraid to throw away stuff, because at the end of the day, you know you're going to break them back eventually, right? So here we go again. We get hit by the 200 keys. Sometimes when you're stuck like that, then I think you just got to wait for some time to pass before you can continue to rule those items out again. So do not be pressured to do it, especially when you're like me. trying to maintain the level. As you can see, I'm currently 286. Focus on population upgrading is really important. I think that's the most important of this game after all. Alright, so here we are. We get a lot of items. As I mentioned, do not afraid to dump them away. Otherwise, there's no way you could get those things out. And last but not least, I could have mentioned this. Ship trade is really important. Because without doing the ship trades, you will not have sufficient blue maps for your building of our population upgrade request. So you can see here, if you are lucky, there may not be items that requires the blue maps. Otherwise, normally they require blue maps. But I'm going to urge you to do this. If you have one of the requests that asks for a ridiculous amount of blue maps, you know what I mean by ridiculous, right? Because the ship trade, the stingy captain will just give you like 5 numbers or 10 numbers of maps, and then one single upgrade they ask for 8 numbers of maps. I think that's ridiculous. So try to do those that is only 1 or 2 maps requests, and anything more than that you should refuse it by dumping it away and then wait for the next one. You know, sometimes they won't even ask for a single blue map, so I think those are the really ones that you should work for. Alright, so again we are stuck. It's all trains delivery. As I mentioned, I'm trying not to do that. Alright, the developer is always quite honest in a way. When you have those event keys and at the end of the event, they return to you in a ratio method or proportion method. So they like because you need a minimum of 5 of those event keys to exchange for meta keys and whatnot, they give you a portion back. So it's a refund in a way. So they will not cheat you on the odd number of event keys that you have in remaining. So generally, that's all for this mini Tycoon event itself. So looking forward, you might be thinking what's next. As I mentioned, I've been reading news, and most people will say that Seaport event will be next. As I said, Seaport event happens twice a year. That's where you can get the previous region trains itself. If it really happens, I hope you can go all the way to get the maximum number of rewards from there, and eventually claim those old region trains, because you know that every single old region trains you can get currently will cost you a bomb, cost you a lot of gems to get. So if you can get it free through the Seaport event, make sure you grab those. Then of course, then you'll be asking whether would I be restraining myself not to do those Seaport events. I will say no. I'll go for it. Even if I lose the next event, major event, I'll rather win the Seaport event, because getting a previous region train is really tough, and this is once every 2 years, but those major events happens every few weeks once, right? So you gotta weigh the pros and cons and the prioritization. Losing the weekly events doesn't really matter, but you cannot afford not to claim the maximum rewards out of the Seaport event. So I'm thinking if they could let us know soon, then I need not be so able to be restrictive in the things I'm going to do. But I'm very lucky, as I mentioned, even being so restrictive, I managed to claim first for this Train Tycoon. Probably a lot of people are making a rest after the lengthy global logistics event and not playing the game at all. But again, for me, it's a daily routine. I got to do this, right? Otherwise, I'm not able to share with you the progress, right? So for me, TrainStation is one of the games that I play the most frequent. So definitely, I'm into this. It's not like I'm going to rest for 1 day or 2 days not playing it at all. So generally, that's how you should do it. And eventually, we claim this 35 numbers of gold parts, and we are just very close, chased after by one of the players, but I think quite fortunate there. With that, that will give us some of these headquarter points with the company value, and eventually there'll be a good number of gems to be collected. But for now, waiting for anxiously, hoping for the Seaport event, but at the same time hoping that it doesn't come that early. So sometimes it's just a dilemma, but as I said, I make up my mind. If Seaport event comes, I'll go all the way. So I wish you all the best in the next event, be it a mini event, a Seaport event, or the future major event. I think it's something called the European Revolution. Alright, I got more news I will share with you. Thank you for watching. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.